Hi, it's Tim. Today we're going to talk about components that you're going to need for reloading. Hi. Over the next few segments we're going to talk about components for making your own ammunition. The first component you're going to need is brass, and you're going to have a number of sources that you can get that from. The factories always recommend that you either use factory fresh, brand new, unfired brass, or that you buy a source of ammunition, and once you consume that ammunition, then collect up that brass and keep that as your reloading supplies. However, I know what you guys are going to do. You're going to take brass from wherever you can find it, and it's going to be very important that you're aware of the condition of that brass. And we're going to talk about a number of things that you need to look for and be careful of as you're collecting brass from whatever source you find. There are a number of other sources. You could potentially have a relationship with a range somewhere that will allow you to pick it up. You may have a source where you can buy what's supposed to be once fired brass. Now, more often than not, that's going to be the case, but there are some times that some other brass is going to slip in there unknowing to the retailer that you purchase it from. So it's important that you look for a number of things. The first thing you're going to do is do an inspection on whatever brass you have, and it doesn't matter if it's brand new from the factory or once fired from factory ammunition, or if you get it from another source. One of the things you're going to look for is any dents, nicks, cracks, and bulges, anything that looks unusual to you. The next thing you're going to look for is whether or not it's suitable for reloading. There are a number of types of brass out there. Typically, you're going to find that you have a brass casing, which should be kind of yellow in color. It's also used as a base material for nickel brass, and that's the same material, it's the same base material, however it has a nickel washer and nickel coating on it. This is perfectly acceptable for reloading if you're using carbide dies. There is a problem that does exist with them if you're using carbon dies. So if you're using tungsten carbide or something that's equivalent to that, this is still perfectly acceptable. There are a number of manufacturers that make ammunition that has Berdan primers, and those are going to be different than the Boxer primers that we currently use commonly in the U.S. A lot of foreign manufacturers use Berdan primers, and if you attempt to resize and decap those, you're going to wind up damaging your equipment. And I'll show you an example of what a Berdan priming system looks like. Typically, if it's manufactured in the U.S., it's going to be aluminum, and this is typically made by CCI as a cheaper source of ammunition. This is not going to be reloadable for not only the fact that it's Berdan primed, but also because it's made of aluminum and it'll only take the stresses of being fired one time without causing hazardous condition. It can be identified by the fact that it's kind of a light dull gray color. Then you have some foreign manufactured ammunition. Some of it is made by companies that use brass. Some of it's reloadable, some of it's not. One of the things you can look for is it's going to be a strange looking color, either a dark gray or even green or maybe even brown or a reddish brown. One handy tool is a magnet. And if you have a magnet and it sticks to the magnet, then you know it's a steel casing and it needs to be disposed of. Some of the other things you need to be aware of are the fact that you have two different styles of brass. You have a straight wall, which is typical of most pistol cases, and a few rifle cases, and they're going to look something similar to this. It's just straight wall, there's no bottleneck. The other type of cartridge is a bottleneck cartridge, and that's typical of most rifle cartridges and some pistol cartridges. So it's going to have a shoulder and a narrower portion up at the front called the neck. As you collect your brass from whatever source you have or whatever source you find, you need to do an inspection on it and make sure that it's not too dirty. If it's dirty, it's going to need to be cleaned. And in a future section we'll talk about different methods on how to clean that. The other thing you're going to look for is the possibility that maybe it has been fired more than once. And later in the program, whenever we get to the point that we're actually using the machines and the dies to process the brass, we'll be doing a number of inspections along the way.